I am 78 years old. Last winter, I was sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot, and I couldn't remember why I was there. The engine was still running. The radio was off. I sat with my hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead, feeling tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. After a few minutes, it came back to me. I needed milk. Just milk. But I didn't move right away. I stayed there, thinking about how strange it was that my days had become so quiet. No one calling to remind me of things, no one asking me to hurry home. That moment stayed with me longer than it should have. Not because of the milk, but because of what it showed me. My life had slowed down, and for the first time, there was nothing left to distract me from my thoughts. That was when I finally said it out loud, even if only to myself. My biggest mistake was working too much. When I was younger, that sentence wouldn't have made sense to me. Work was never something I questioned. It was something you did, something you endured, something you built your life around. I grew up watching my father leave the house before sunrise and come back after dark. He didn't complain. He didn't explain. He just did what needed to be done. I learned early that providing was the same as caring. I carried that lesson with me into adulthood. My first job wasn't impressive. It paid the bills, barely, but I treated it like it mattered more than anything else in my life. I showed up early. I stayed late. I learned things no one asked me to learn. I wanted to be useful. I wanted to be needed. When someone praised my effort, it felt like proof that I was doing something right. I met my wife during those years. She liked that I was steady, reliable. She said it made her feel safe. We married young, before either of us really knew who we were going to become. We didn't have much, but we had energy. We talked a lot back then, about everything. Dreams, worries, small plans that felt important at the time. When our first child was born, I remember standing in the hospital room, holding something so small, it scared me. I felt proud, and I felt afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of not being enough, afraid of repeating the kind of uncertainty I grew up with. That fear became my fuel. I started saying yes to everything at work, extra shifts, extra projects, responsibilities that weren't mine but became mine anyway. Each yes felt like protection. Each late night felt justified. I told myself I was doing this for my family, and I believed it. At home, life settled into routines. Mornings were rushed, coffee poured quickly, breakfast eaten standing up, a kiss on the cheek, a promise to call later. Evenings were quiet. I came home tired. My wife would ask how my day was. I would answer without much detail. My mind was already moving to the next day. Dinner was often late. Sometimes I ate alone. Sometimes the kids were still awake, sometimes not. I told myself I'd make it up to them on the weekend. Then the weekend came and I was too tired or something came up. These things didn't feel like losses at the time. They felt like trades. I gave up small moments for what I thought would be long-term security. Years passed without ceremony. Promotions came, raises, new titles, business cards that changed every few years. I felt proud when I handed them out. I felt important when people needed my approval. That feeling followed me home, even when no one there needed anything from me. My wife learned not to expect much of my time. She carried more of the household than she should have. She knew the children's schedules, their friends' names, their worries. I knew their schools and their grades. I told myself that was enough. Our conversations changed over time. They became shorter, more practical, less about how we felt and more about what needed to be done. I didn't notice when we stopped sitting together in the evenings. I just noticed one day that we didn't anymore. Silence doesn't arrive suddenly. It builds quietly, like dust. The children grew. They stopped asking me to play with them. They stopped waiting for me to come home. They learned to move around my absence. That should have hurt more than it did. Instead, I felt relieved that things ran smoothly without me. At work, I felt alive. At home, I felt like I was catching my breath. We took family trips. We smiled for photos. From the outside, everything looked fine. But I was often distracted. I checked my phone. I stepped away to take calls. I told myself emergencies don't wait. I didn't realize that life doesn't either. Time sped up. 1 year blended into the next. Birthdays came and went. I attended some, missed others. I always had a reason. I always thought there would be another one. Then my father died. I stood at his funeral listening to people talk about how hard he worked, how he never complained, how he provided for his family. I nodded along. I recognized myself in every word. That night, alone in my hotel room, I felt something I didn't understand at the time. A question, maybe? A quiet one? Was that all there was to say? The feeling passed. I went back to work. I always went back to work. My children left home one by one. College, jobs, their own lives. I was proud of them, truly. But I didn't know how to be close to them as adults. We had skipped too many steps earlier. My wife and I shared a house that felt larger than it used to. We filled the space with routines. Morning coffee, evening television, occasional dinners out. We were kind to each other, polite, loving in a careful way. Then she got sick. At first it was manageable. Appointments, medication, adjustments. I kept working. I told myself she needed stability. She never asked me to stop. She never asked me to change. That was her nature. As the illness progressed, I started noticing how tired she looked, how quiet she became. I started coming home earlier, but not early enough. I sat with her more. I listened more. And the more I listened, the more I realized how much I had missed. We talked about our early years, about things we never finished saying. There was no anger in her voice, just honesty. That was harder to hear. One afternoon, she took my hand and said she was glad I was there. Just that. I wished I had been there sooner. She passed away without drama. Quietly. Afterward, people praised me. They said I was devoted. They talked about my career. I accepted their words without correcting them. I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling. The house felt empty in a way I hadn't prepared for. Work no longer filled that space. It only delayed my return to it. I stayed at my job longer than I needed to. I told myself I wasn't ready to retire. The truth was, I wasn't ready to sit alone with my thoughts. Eventually, I did retire. There was a small gathering, speeches, handshakes, applause. Then it ended. I walked out of the building for the last time, carrying a box of things that once mattered to me. Photos, papers, a few awards. They felt lighter than they used to. Retirement gave me time, too much of it. I started noticing things I had ignored for years, how long mornings can be, how quiet afternoons feel, how memories arrive without warning. Sometimes I remembered moments I had been present for. Sometimes I remembered moments I had missed. My children call, we talk, we care about each other, but there is a distance that never fully closed. That distance was built slowly, and it stayed. I don't feel angry at myself. I don't feel dramatic regret. I feel something quieter. An understanding that choices add up, even when they seem reasonable at the time. Money helped. It made life easier, safer, more comfortable. But it didn't buy back evenings, it didn't sit at the table, it didn't listen, it didn't stay. If I'm honest, I didn't lose my family all at once. I lost them a little at a time, while telling myself I was doing the right thing. Now, at 78, my days are simple. I wake up, I make coffee, I read the paper, I take walks, I think. Sometimes too much. If I could say something to you just softly, it would be this. Work will always ask for more. It doesn't know when to stop. The people in your life might not ask loudly. They might just wait. And one day they might stop waiting. If someone came to your mind while listening to this, reach out to them. Not because you should, not because it's a rule, just because time is quieter than we think and it moves faster than we notice. I learned this late. I live with it now. If you want to share your own story, you can leave it in the comments. I read them when I can. And if this felt familiar, you're welcome to stay here, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need to hear it.